So this is Christmas. Hello, guys and girls. Just had a bit of one of the very first Santa Claus moments just moments ago. Oh, how Santa Claus going down to the rodeo? I'm joking. Anyway, guys and gals, welcome to this next video, and I'm here to bring you a brand new YouTube video today. And will you look at this once again? The magic is back once again. Festive mania has returned, and the warmth and spirit and the magic of Christmas is back. And it's here to stay. Well, anyway, guys and gals, in this video today, this is the first of 3 videos on this subject. The first is, in this video, similar to what I did a couple of years ago, where I went through the history of the Christmas Radio Times covers. I'm actually, speaking of that, I'm going to do a remake of that video this year, and in addition to that, in this video, this is going to be quite similar to what I did a couple of years ago, but on this occasion, I'm going to go through the Christmas issues or covers rather, of the TV Times, and go through the listings of them in this video coming up. So, yep, well, anyway, I hope you all enjoy this video. Peace.
Oh, here we go. What about the TV Times? Well, anyway, the TV Times was launched at the very beginning of ITV in 1955. Yep, 1955. Originally only in London and some other places, because at the time it wasn't a national magazine at the time, and I'll explain why. And also on this cover, since it's predominantly red, is because that was the only colour ink available at the time due to the Second World War. And also why it wasn't a national magazine, I'll explain in a second.
And I should probably mention as well that in the first 12 or so years of ITV, and also got to remember as well, back then ITV it wasn't a unified single channel, but it was actually a whole variety of different channels serving various regions around the UK. So, yep, we each with their own distinctive identity, and channel programming. So, and yep, put them all together, you make the ITV network. So, yep. Anyway, in the first 12 years before the TV Times became the national magazine for ITV, some of the regions had their own TV listing magazines, for their region, and then it gradually ended in the 60s and up until about 1968, when the TV Times became the national magazine listings for ITV. So yeah, but anyway, back to the video. We're moving on to Christmas covers, and unfortunately, 1955. You know what, they could have had elves doing a circus under the river for all I know, because unfortunately no photo exists that I'm aware of. So anyway, moving on to 1956. On 1956's cover featured a mother and a daughter, with a photo or artist drawing of both of them sitting in front of a television, just about to watch Christmas programmes. And I would say, in a way, either with those two or the whole family sitting around there, it could be very contemporary for the time. 1957's cover depicted a artist's photo of the Queen on the front, because 1957 was the first year that Queen Elizabeth first broadcast her Christmas message via television. And, yep, a very, very nice photo indeed. 1958's cover depicted what looks like possibly a Georgian or Victorian Christmas Eve party, and everybody dancing away, enjoying themselves on here. At the end of the 50s, 1959's cover, depicted on here, has 7 red baubles featuring a galaxy of ITV stars at the time. On 7 different baubles against a red starry background. And also, I would mention that up until 1964, due to the Second World War's impact on the world's ink, there's some very red-dominated Christmas covers on here, which we're going to see. To the 1960s now, and 1960s Christmas cover featured some of the stars of ITV's Christmas pantomime that year, Alice Through the Looking Glass, and with Alice and the bunny rabbit trying to enter into Wonderland via the magic of television. 1961's cover featured one of the many stars, boggle-eyed, in a Santa costume. I don't know about all you lot, but you wouldn't want that for one full week on your coffee table, would you? Anyway, moving on. The photographic Christmas covers, which begun in 1961, continues in 1962 with this lovely little photo from Carols from Kinns with these three choir boys singing their hearts out at all ye faithful. Hallelujah! Well, anyway, 1963, for the very first time, full colour has come to the TV Times, and in 1963's cover it featured a little girl praying on here for the very big bag of festive goodies and Yuletide treats. 1964's TV Times Christmas cover featured one of Britain's very first rock and roll stars, Tommy Steele, who was in one of the major ITV Christmas programmes that year, called Esquire. Moving on now to 1965, and 1965's cover depicted a painting of what is supposed to be Jesus in his years as a lad. I'm joking, it's Jesus as a boy. 1966's TV Times Christmas cover featured the Queen, back once again, although this time in colour and also sitting down gracefully in one of the rooms of Buckingham Palace, and the logo, TV Times Christmas logo, is chunkety gold lettering. 1967's cover featured 4 carol boys practicing. We're with the vicar in what looks like, again, you're in a church somewhere, maybe Carols from Kinns, probably. Anyway, 1968, before I talk about the cover, it was also the introduction of their famous 1960s and 70s logo, which was a sans serif logo, which you just saw moments ago, initially in green, and then later on it went through a few different changes before it became red from the 70s up until the 80s. Well, anyway, now moving on, 1968's cover featured a lady on the front called Julia Foster, sitting in front of a golden, possibly silver or platinum decorated Christmas tree, which was quite good indeed. And also, I've just forgot to mention this, also, 1968 was also the very first year that TV Times became a national magazine for the first time, and plus, also, 1968 was also the last single-issue TV Times, and because, as with their counterparts at the BBC and the Radio Times the following year, it would also be the birth of a dynasty, which is the Christmas and New Year double issue. So now, on to 1969 now.
1969's TV Times Christmas cover features Bob Monkhouse's disembodied head, with a Santa beard and hat, while surrounding him is various items of festivity and of Christmas, which is very lovely indeed, and fandabidosi.
In 1970's cover depicted 2 of ITV's Christmas stars that year, Val Doonican and Max Bygraves,
Val Doonican had on ITV at the time the Val Doonican Show, which would be later shown on the BBC when he moved to it. I quite like this cover, and also just what you just saw just many moments ago. I like the attention to detail with the logo, and also of how they put it snow, and a few other elements of Christmas on top of it. 1971, it was the turn of this lady on here called Barbara Murray, who was dressed in a Santa Baby costume, and also to promote one of the thrillers on that Christmas was called "Who Killed Kringle himself?" Who is the real McCoy? I'm joking. It's Who Killed Santa Claus? Anyway, moving on. This time, we've got another photograph again for the TV Times, Christmas 1972, and this time it features two of the cast members of Thames Television's programme called Love Thy Neighbour, which was one of their programmes at the 70s, so yep. Both of them are dressed in Santa costumes, or it could be unless Santa Claus has got a cloning machine hiding somewhere, possibly, and he sends them out to do the job instead of the definite articles himself. Moving on now to 1973. 1973's Christmas cover featured two of the cast members of Sidney James and also Barbara Windsor in Santa outfits, or there isn't a hidden clown anywhere behind them. You're pulling puppet strings, is there? I'm joking. Anyway, once again, another photograph again in 1974, and this time Tommy Steele is back again. Well, this time sitting in front of beside a Christmas tree, reading "The Night Before Christmas" to some children. Very, very nice indeed. 1975's cover features this image, or spitting image, I was actually joking, spitting image style caricatures of a galaxy of ITV's stars for Christmas in the balloon, although spitting image at this point hadn't been invented yet. And all of them are riding the Yuletide wave together in a balloon. 1976, basically, this cover, I could describe it as being a table of a selection of the faces of ITV's Christmas schedule that year. Moving on now to Christmas 1977, and Christmas 1977 brought us Carolyn Stars. That gentleman on the far left doesn't look too happy about it though. 1978's Christmas cover featured Morecambe and Wise, who had just recently returned to ITV, having spent the last nearly 10 years at the BBC, and on this cover, Eric Morecambe looks like he's about to play ping-pong tennis coming out of a gun, or not unless it's a miniaturised version, going like blah, blah, blah. I'm joking. Anyway, both of them are standing near a cardboard cutout of Sean Connery, whom the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever was a film premiere on that Christmas. Whether Morecambe doesn't know how to handle a gun, or they secretly broke in the night into MI5's weapons department. You're for the spares. Decade ended with another photograph, and this time it's of Faye Dunaway, and she leads this cover alongside a host of stars, such as Morecambe and Wise, the Muppets, and many more. Kwanzas. 1980's cover featured this nice and very wintry and lovely photograph, which looks like it had been taken in the Alps, and featuring on here are Morecambe and Wise back once again in Santa costumes, Roger Moore, and also Margaret Thatcher, on which it could have looked like they've either been kidnapped, picked up, and then dumped on there on the heads, or taken a very nice seasonal holiday. Just before I said that bit, I was just joking when I said dumped and picked up and what have you. 1981 brought us another star to the cover in the form of what appears to be either Ronnie Barker or Les Dawson sipping a glass of wine. And if you notice the logo in the corner of the magazine, it's had a refresh, and now the TV Times has adopted one of its famous logos.
the new sans serif logo, and initially also with the green TV, giant TV lettering behind it, and it went through a few colour changes before becoming red, which happened a few years later, and still continues to this day. Well, anyway, now moving on to 1982. 1982's Christmas cover depicted the Galaxy of Stars motif, ranging from many various faces: David Frost, Roger Moore, the Muppets, John Cleese, Morecambe and Wise, and also, for the very, very first year running, since November 1982, the TV Times now provides from this point listings for Channel 4, and also, as you see in the cover, it was also the debut of The Snowman, which was on that Christmas. So, yep. Time to jump straight to 1983, and 1983 features this nice little image of the Prince Charles and his family sort of getting ready for Christmas. Very, very good. 1984's Christmas cover brought a photograph of Russ Abbott in a sugar plum fairy costume. Either he could fly, or, as they say in Toy Story, or he could be falling off the tree in huge style. Joking. Well, anyway, now moving on to 1985, and it is Christmas of 1985 brought us this image of two of the cast members from Minder, Dennis Waterman on the left, on Christmas Eve delivering the presents to all those kiddywinks. In 1986, brought us this sturdy image of Torval and Dean getting married right in the centre of the North Pole, in front of the psychic ice demon, and also Dumbo is in attendance. 1987's cover featured two of the stars of ITV's biggest show of the year, and well, one of them for many years, and which is Coronation Street, which the Christmas special had 28 million people glued to their television sets to see Hilda Ogden leave the street to start a new life somewhere. Yep, and now, anyway, moving on to 1988. Moving on now into 1988, and it was a photograph once again of these two people, Arthur and Terry, dressed up in Santa costumes. Christmas of 1989 brought to the TV Times cover a photo of Des O'Connor, who by that time had been presenting Des O'Connor Tonight on ITV for 6 years by this point. Plus, 1989 was also the year of and the premiere of Roald Dahl's The BFG on television, which was on Christmas Day 1989, obviously. Anyway, 1990's cover features two, I don't know their names unfortunately, cast members, once again, Coronation Street in Santa outfits. Well, anyway, now moving on. So as well, this cover features a guest appearance from Ken Dodd in a square, which you can see on the cover, and I quite like the outside of the cover too, with the hand-drawn symbols of Christmas. Well, anyway, moving on. 1991's cover featured yet again another photograph, and the last the TV Times would use for 7 years. Anyway, on the other hand, it features the cast of The Darling Buds of May, especially David Jason and Catherine Zeta-Jones. On the corner, on the right. So yeah, and also this is the first TV Times Christmas issue since the TV listings mention this again, were deregulated. Prior to March 1991, the TV Times covered mainly ITV and then later Channel 4 from November 1982 and satellite listings as well, and meanwhile on the BBC on the Radio Times it covered
the BBC channels and radio stations. And from 1991, when it got deregulated, the whole market was thrown open and a lot of various magazines started coming. You're coming into the newsagents by this time. Well, anyway, move on to 1992.
Should mention before we move on, the regulatory body for ITV, right at the from 1954 to 1955 up until July 1972, was the Independent Television Authority, or ITA, and for short, and then later on, after the Sound Broadcasting Act 1972, in which they were given responsibility to set up the independent local radio stations, it became the Independent Broadcasting Authority, or IBA, and that remained until January 1991, at which, as a result of the Broadcasting Act, 1990, the IBA were abolished and they were replaced with the ITC, or Independent Television Commission, which they were the regulators of ITV throughout nearly the whole 1990s and early 2000s until they were replaced with Ofcom, which I'll mention again later. Well, anyway, moving on. 92's Christmas cover depicted a snowman with a mop, and the snowman smiling happily at a tiny little robin redbreast on his hand, and also notice the dog and cat on the front of him, with the dog gawping in amazement. 93 marked the first of a new type of subgenre for these covers, an unusually weird one, which the BBC would also repeat on a couple of covers later in the 90s and then early to mid 2000s. Oh, why is Santa flying in Chitty Bandman? I wonder, who knows? Or probably, for instance, who knows? Well, anyway, also, this is the first TV Times cover to talk about the sheer number of films which were on that Christmas. 1993 there was 800, and today there's millions and millions this year, which is why you'll talk about it anymore. 1994's Christmas cover depicted this family, which you can see in the corner, looking up in amazement as Santa Claus has excitedly rushes away to his next delivery, and the sleigh going off in a very excitable roller coaster fashion, right? And also features him waving down, making a pass by. And I should also mention that famous TV Times logo had its first major revision a couple of years before this, I forgot to mention, in a decade, being beefed up for the Christmas season. 95 features this excitable, or if you want to put it this way, probably very nightmarish smile of Santa Claus on the cover, before stepping aside in 1996 in favour of Wallace and Gromit for some apparent reason. 1997 and 1997's cover features the Teletubbies in a very, very snowy, picturesque forest background, which is quite lovely indeed. And also, since 1997 was also the debut of the programme itself. 1998's Christmas cover briefly brought back the photographic cover, and also the last that the TV Times would use to date. With a slight up-to-date adjustment to the TV Times logo, Santa Claus was back again in 1999 with this nice little picture. 2000's cover features this absolutely fantastic, picturesque, nighttime, wintry North Pole scene with this very, very lovely polar bear, spying polar bear, complete with icebergs, Aurora Borealis, and Mr. Kris Kringle himself making a fly pass in the background. 2001 brought Santa back with this nice little picture, with him holding a magical snow globe, which within it has a family cosily watching Yuletide television. 2001, he's back again with this nice smiling shot of himself. 2003 brings this fantastic image of Santa Claus reading reading a Christmas card on there, complete with hollies, plums, sugar. 2004 brought this snowy landscape with a singing Robin Redbreast, and the main star is this snowman who could either be smiling or might look faintly very untrustworthy, probably, with his very dead, staring eyes, you know. It goes back in 2005 with this smiley little image, and also with a Robin Redbreast on top of one of the presents beside him. 2006, he's back again with this very similar image, and except this time, instead of a robin, he's with a teddy bear. Again, he's back in 2007 with this very, very nice, snowy, smiley, and absolutely jolly little image. Very, very nice. Fandabby-dozy. 2008 now. 2008, he's back again with this silly and also very, very enjoyable little picture. 2009 brought us this funny little picture of Santa Claus ice skating, and which I can say, fabulous and very, very, very quite good indeed. 2010 brought us this lovely little picture. 2011 brought this very, very similar, very, very nice picture. 2012 has a sort of Father Christmas reindeer and everybody get together. 2013 repeated a similar formula with this quite adorable picture of Father Christmas and this adorable snowman watching these two mice skiing. 2014's cover ended this run of oddity with Father Christmas in a very, very snowy town watching this quite adorable bear and doll pull a cracker. 2015 brought us this very nice little picture. This cover gave us this lovely picture with Father Christmas himself holding the very joyous magic of Christmas in his very hands. This year they've gave us this wonderful and nice picture of Santa Claus sitting in front of a Christmas tree, happily giving out one of his all very precious gifts to a very, very good boy or girl all year round. So, yep. Well, anyway, and that concludes the TV Times cover history. And now, I'll see you in a moment. And yep, guys and gals, that concludes this video of the history of looking at the TV Times covers. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I certainly have. So, yep, well anyway, and also to mention this, coming up in one of my next videos, I'm going to be doing a remake of my TV Times video, which will be cover history video, which will be in one of my next videos, and also I'm going to do a video about the history of Christmas presentation. Well, the idents which you would normally see in between the programmes. I'm going to be doing a two-part video of that, which will come up next after this video, one for BBC One, and then the second part will be for BBC Two. It'll be mainly a picture slideshow of the various Christmas idents through the years, and many, many more joyous gifts and wrappings and trimmings to come. It'll be worth it. Anyway, guys and gals, I hope you've all really, really enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure to check out some more of the fantastic videos, and also don't forget to comment, rate, like, subscribe as well. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. Peace and sign off.